All right, we are back for season 4, episode 11. We got some drone footage, I think that should be fun. This has been great. Outdoors, like all this stuff is good. Last episode, Matt, we talked about the integrative design process, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper in some of the benefits. One of the benefits you discussed was democratizing the design. We live in a democracy. I like America. Like, can you give me the skinny, like, what does democracy and design look like? What does that work? What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think it layers into this idea of multiple crises, right? Because one of the crises that we're kind of dealing with in a global stage is political instability, right?
Sure.
And I think when we talk and frame it, architecture as a way of telling a story, of having a set of values, architecture's role in kind of, propaganda throughout the history of different rulers and sometimes tyrants, right? There's a way of thinking about this, to borrow some of the values inherent in our democracy, right?
Sure.
And I think one of the big ideas is not only is it peaceful transition of power, but it's like the representation. So having equal access to representation for everybody that calls this country theirs, right, is part of the big idea. And what I love about that frame with architecture is it kind of invites this idea of who are the buildings for. Traditionally, it's been for the clients, right?
Yeah.
We build buildings and design buildings for a group of people that have a need.
Sure.
But oftentimes their need is temporary, and the buildings can, while they're not temporary either, or they're not permanent, they have a longer lifespan than sometimes the clients
be
that
100
occupy
years,
them, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of communities then kind of adopt or are forced to adopt the buildings that are designed in them, and they don't have any say over that architecture, that building, or that process, right? And so really the idea of democratizing the design process for me is all about inviting those stakeholders I mentioned earlier to help define and envision what architecture can be. What set of values do we want to stay with this thing? Be a part of that process of discovery, and then chart a framework, right? A roadmap for how to live those values out as you kind of, once you discovered them, right? Then the real work is living those out in how we design and build it and construct it. So democratizing is just expanding the idea of who buildings are for.
Yeah, absolutely. The people that are living in and working in the buildings are actually the people you want to do it for.
Yeah.
It's great. I love that. Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you next week. We have to make a joke about being sweaty at the end. It's going to be great.
I'll just say, I'm glad I wore the black shirt because I'm sweaty.